foreign dairy companies are responsible for a majority of the European emissions. We want more people protesting on climate without the injustice of an industry that is not significant production. When cows are taken from their mothers, when baby cows are from their mothers, when mothers are forcibly impregnated. This is a peaceful protest with the companies and Alloy Million that are taking direct action to stop the dairy industry on all planets.
We're a non-violent civil disobedience movement. You can tell from the tank top. We know that the changes in the law, the injunctions against us are irrelevant in comparison with mass starvation, with the genocidal policies that our government is pushing for, with their 100 new fossil fuel licenses in the North Sea. We've been told we can have no new fossil fuels. And this isn't just radical activists saying that, it's the International Energy Agency, it's the Secretary General of the UN that said investment in new fossil fuel infrastructure is moral and economic madness. Di piazza, di piazza, vaffanculo, di piazza, di piazza, vaffanculo, di piazza, di piazza, vaffanculo, di piazza, di piazza, vaffanculo. I nostri soldi siano spesi per opere per il territorio, per quello che serve, per la sanità, per i servizi sociali, per le scuole che non hanno pezzi, siano spese per la gente che ha bisogno, non per...
Listen for yourself.
You've heard of plant-based protein powder, but what if the next alternative was made out of plastic? There's new research that could make it a reality.
All right, Stacey Delacat talked to a scientist about the process that could help fight hunger and pollution.
Food shortages are worsening around the world, and the plastic pollution crisis continues to intensify. What if there was one solution to both of these problems? A Michigan scientist thinks there could be.
What we're trying to do is to use microbes to take plastic and other inedible plant material and turn that into something that's nutritious.
The idea is to turn components of plastic into protein and other nutrients like fats and sugars. If that sounds kind of gross to you, well,
I don't want to eat plastic either. What we're trying to do is to take that plastic and turn it into something completely different.
Steve Techman, an environmental microbiologist and an associate professor at Michigan Technological University, and his colleagues were just honored with a more than $1 million Future Insight Prize from a German company that will allow them to delve deeper into their research. Techman says their process works by using microbes to break down the plastic completely.
And in the end, all we're left with are microbial cells. And those cells are made up of a lot of the same things in the food that we eat: proteins, lipids, sugars, and vitamins.
Techman says the resulting cells, once dried out, are a powder resembling brown sugar. And he says the full conversion takes just about a day.
Which I think is pretty exciting because plastics in the environment can take years to break down. And so the fact that we can break plastics down in a day is pretty cool, I think.
It'll likely be a few years at least before turning plastic into protein or other food becomes a reality. And even when it does, the scientists say they envision that the end product is going to be used for something more like emergency food rations than something you would find on the grocery store shelves. In Manhattan, I'm Stacey Delacat, Fox 5 News.
It's a joke. Birds aren't real. Flies are spies. That's all I can say. Birds during COVID were replaced by government drones. They're no longer real.
Did you work out this morning?
No.
Okay. The thing is, okay, so when do I have a...
But I took my medicine. But I took my antidepressant medication that I take every day. Was it a mistake in so many states and so many localities to see schools closed as long as they were?
I think in some case, I don't want to use the word mistake, John, because if I do, it gets taken out of the context that you're asking me the question on.
Well, did we pay too high a price?
Yeah, I would say that what we should realize and have realized that there will be deleterious collateral consequences when you do something like that. This idea that this virus doesn't afflict children is not so. It does. We've lost close to 1,500 kids so far.
But much less than the older population, obviously.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But you shouldn't discount that it does afflict children, so it isn't without consequences. If you go back, and I ask anybody to go back over the number of times that I've said we've got to do everything we can to keep the schools open, no one plays that clip. They always come back and say Fauci was responsible for closing schools. I had nothing to do. I mean, let's get down to the facts.
8:17, allegations surrounding the late Lord Mountbatten will be heard in a Belfast court this week.
Yes, a former resident of a children's home in the city has waived his anonymity, claiming he experienced abuse by Mountbatten during the 1970s.
We're joined now by our royal reporter, Cameron Walker, who can tell us more. Cameron.
Paul, yes. Well, this is the man who King Charles once described as the grandfather he never had. He had a strong influence on the then Prince Charles's upbringing. He was a mentor. He enjoyed fishing and outdoor activities with the now king before he was killed in 1979 by an IRA bomb. But now he's being accused of sexually abusing an 11-year-old boy twice in the 1970s. Now, this 11-year-old boy is now all grown up. His name is Arthur Smith, and he is bringing civil action against a number of public institutions, alleging negligence and a breach of duty of care. Now, this all centres around Arthur's time spent in children's homes in Northern Ireland, Kincora, and the North Road Children's Home. Now, a 2017 public inquiry found that 39 boys were abused at Kincora over the years. 3 staff members were jailed, but there was no evidence of any kind of institutional cover-up. Now, Arthur's case today centres around his allegations against the late senior royal, Lord Mountbatten, and he's waived his right of anonymity, which, of course, is common with sexual abuse cases, and his lawyer says this is born out of anger at systematic state cover-up on abuse at these institutions. This is the first time that any allegations of this nature have been aired in court or will be aired in court against Lord Mountbatten, Prince Charles's, King Charles's even great uncle. So it's going to be pretty uncomfortable, perhaps, for the royal family so soon after Her Majesty the Queen's death.
But very difficult, because, of course, he can't defend himself, can he? Because he's deceased. I don't really understand how that works in a court system.
No, but this court case is very much centred around the institutions and suing in a civil case, the institutions. Yeah.
And have the royal family said anything?
No, and Buckingham Palace would never comment on ongoing legal proceedings.
Right, OK. Let's talk about Mohammed Khan, who...
It says that we are where we expected to be, but now we have the facts to back it up. I think the one area that we are feeling positive about is that 38% of our workforce are women. We've done a lot of work to improve in that area, and it's very consistent with our current female fan base of 40%, and so that's a great benchmark. Having said that, we know we have work to do with women of color, and we're leaning into that. I think the the thing that you should take away from the workforce study is that it is a progressive outlook on how you begin to manage your talent. And it is progressive in that it's a self-identified report. So of our approximately 4,200 employees across the league and the club, 67% of our employees participated in it, and this is how they self-identified. And we will take this benchmark every 2 years and measure our progress over time.
Well, BlackRock and Larry in particular are a great example of private sector leadership. You know, anyone who says that climate shouldn't be a factor in how you evaluate the future of a company, you know, that's not capitalism, because companies that have emissions, you know, they are going to be subject to border adjustment tariffs or taxes. You also have to think about companies, you know, if you're dealing with severe weather events, that's got to be factored in. Is the company ensuring that? Are they becoming more resilient? So the attacks are kind of illogical, because climate does affect the economy, which does affect investments. The idea that we still need oil and natural gas is also, you know, fairly clear. We're not going to drain all the money away from those sectors. That's how people get to work today. It's how people avoid freezing to death in the winter. And you know, people did get a little optimistic about how quickly the transition could be done. Now, without the Russian natural gas being available in Europe, you know, it's a setback. You know, we need to find non-Russian hydrocarbon sources to substitute for those. So there's coal plants running and a variety of things, because, you know, keeping, you know, people warm, keeping those economies in decent shape is a priority. Now, on the other hand, it's good for the long run, because people won't want to be dependent on Russian natural gas. So they'll move to these new approaches more rapidly.
I'm going to check to make sure folks can hear me. I'm going to actually move to Ms. McNally.
McNally, no conflict, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Bell?
Bell, no conflict, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Lair?
Lair, no conflicts, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Bata?
Bata, no conflicts, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Brooks?
Oliver Brooks, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Daly?
Matt Daly, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Sanchez?
Sanchez, no conflict, yes.
Dr. Shaw?
Shaw, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Long?
Sarah Long, no conflict, yes.
Dr. Cotton?
Cotton, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Sineas?
Sineas, no conflicts, yes.
Dr. Paling?
Paling, no conflicts, yes.
And Lee, no conflicts, yes. This vote now passes with 15 yeses. Go ahead, and 0 noes.
Yes, the vote passed 15 zeros, or 15 for, no against.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's a couple stories competing here to maybe why this was happening, why ACIP did this. Okay. So understand, there's a headline that just happened about a month ago, and it's talking about casting these vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines, into the free market. Up until now, these have been subsidized by the U.S. government with our taxpayer money, funded these vaccine rollouts. So this is the headline out of Fierce Pharma talking about that. It says, no more free vaccines. U.S. plots move to private market in 2023, setting up market clash between Pfizer and Moderna. It says here, starting from January 2023, HHS won't have enough federal funds to support further distributions. Don O'Connell, HHS's Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, said. So what better way to create a commercial market than to kind of punt this to the states, have the states mandate it in schools. Now every kid has to take this to get into schools. You know how that goes. There's your market. It just pops up like
Unbelievable.
that.
And it almost gives you a sense of the types of backroom deals that are going on here. Don't worry, even when we stop paying you, we will suddenly force through an authorization that will force everybody to go to you in the marketplace and then pay you themselves.
If you're a single adult man, you're going to come here to this facility starting tomorrow.
When migrants first walk in after intake, they will see a recreational room set up with rows of couches, TVs, Xboxes, and board games. There will also be a phone bank so migrants can connect with family in order to find more permanent housing.
We can do that in 24 hours, maybe even less. Many times, it's going to take longer than that. It could take days.
Next, there is a cafeteria that will provide migrants with 3 meals a day, and snacks, coffee, and tea will be available 24/7.
Those meals are all culturally appropriate. It is South American fare. The menu rotates on a regular basis.
It's become clear that people in this country and globally have been steamrolled. It is also clear that it has been coordinated globally. It is also clear that it has been integrated, not just over 6 months, not just over 2.5 years, but it has been planned over decades. The changes to legislation in this country were done so that they could control doctors and people. But the people are waking, and it's thanks to people like Dr. Altman and all the presenters here today, thanks to people like Senator Babette and Craig Kelly. We know and we knew that this is all bullshit and that we've been had. But we are going to hound you down, the people that are guilty. We are going to hound you down and hold you accountable. And we will expose your global agenda so that the people of Australia can be free in the future. Because I love my kids and I'm looking forward to my grandkids. And we are going to save this country. Thank you.
I believe that the future belongs to the conspiracy theorists, the truth tellers, the freedom fighters, the tinfoil hatters, the Z-list celebrities. Thanks for that. Because we have universally been shut down and shut up throughout this shit show of this COVID pandemic hoax. There's a reason that this blitz surprise attack of this fourth industrial revolution and the Great Reset has occurred. You only utilize a surprise attack in a wartime situation. It's because they knew that we would not accept easily the incoming measures, and so they lied to us. They hoaxed us. Now, it's incredibly cruel that ordinary people who are trying to deal with this, trying to understand the rapid changes that are occurring, these people don't have a voice. They don't have a platform in the media anywhere. No one is talking about what it feels like for the ordinary person who is now being bombarded with lies and falsehoods and propaganda to try and navigate their way through their lives. We need someone in the media, a few people in the media, to give a voice to the other side so that we can talk about what it feels like living through this. It's immensely cruel that they're not going to let that happen. And the reason they're not going to let that happen is because they uniquely understand the power of words. They have used words during the last couple of years to control and instill fear in billions of people. Yes, it's now unraveling. Yes, people are waking up. But what they don't want to do is give a platform to the power of words that might come from the other side. If I were running a media company right now, I would rapidly be giving a platform to those people on the other side so that our words at least can be heard.
If you need a single location to get cutting-edge information and keep up with the rapidly changing world around us, tune into Grand Theft World, where a forensic historian and a logic professor break down the week's news in depth and in context. There's a ton more there, so go check it out. And don't forget to get your Freedom Vault on the homepage.